Joining me right now is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. I want to get your take on so many things this morning, but first, give us your reaction to the verdict last Friday against Donald Trump.
I mean, really, it's an abuse of power at the judicial level we've never seen before in American history, and it ought to be troubling and disturbing to every American. And frankly, I think it makes America look bad. I mean, we're trying to put out these values that we value dissent, we value the First Amendment, and here we have Democratic Party politicians in New York, both a judge and a prosecutor, abusing their offices to seize a business effectively, levy a devastating fine on President Trump, punish his family. You know, we don't do that here in America, as Joe Biden likes to say, unless it's his party doing it. It's really terrible.
Well, Tom, we could get decisions from the Supreme Court this week on the other issues facing Trump on the Colorado ballot case, whether or not they can take his name off the ballot, and a decision on Trump's presidential immunity in the January 6th trial. That's Jack Smith's case. What are you expecting from these?
Well, I don't see how the Supreme Court is not going to allow Trump to be removed from the ballot through this kangaroo court process. The Democratic Party, unfortunately, wants to turn America, in my view, into a one-party state by removing Trump from the ballot and jailing him improperly. And this immunity case, I don't know how the court's going to rule ultimately. I think they shouldn't bum rush Trump into a trial simply because Jack Smith wants it to happen, because he's afraid he might lose if it's past the election as opposed to prior to the election. And it highlights, and it's an admission, that this is about election interference. We want the trial before the election. And the Supreme Court should decline the invitation to help the liberal courts here in Washington, D.C., who hate Trump, Jack Smith and Joe Biden, rig the election by putting Trump through this trial. And, you know, and going back to New York, you know, all that money that Trump is being fined and may have to kind of swirl away as he challenges this ruling, that's money he can't use to run for office, right? It is, to me, as abusive as you'll see in terms of what a government does to a dissenter.
Well, it's also quite interesting to see this, effort to get a speedy trial. We want a speedy trial. Jack Smith wants Trump in court as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the feds, the DOJ, have been sitting on charges against Hunter Biden for how many years? 6 or 7 years, right? I mean, there's like no rush there. And yet they want to rush this before the election. I want to get your take on what we're going to hear from this week, because President Biden's younger brother, James Biden, Jim Biden, who was in business with Hunter Biden, he'll be appearing for a transcribed interview before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees tomorrow, as a damning report in Politico details how Jim Biden leveraged Joe Biden's name while pitching himself to the healthcare company AmeriCorps. Now AmeriCorps is suing Jim Biden, accusing him of defrauding them of $600,000. Oversight Committee Chair James Comer said that $200,000 of that money went directly to Joe Biden. James Biden allegedly spoke of plans to give Joe Biden equity in AmeriCorps, install him on the board, even promote the company in a future presidential campaign. Jim Biden even said that Joe Biden was sitting right next to him during a business call, Tom. These are some of the things in the Politico article, and it is a damning article. It goes through all of the things that Jim Biden did to try to get this company to give him hundreds of thousands of dollars, which they did. Your reaction?
Yeah, and Jim doesn't have the excuse of being on drugs that they are trying to use Hunter to allow Hunter to get away with what he's done. Jim Biden is a linchpin in the Biden family syndicate. And we see this in the Politico article. He used Joe to get entrees into these companies. And, you know, in the case of AmeriCorps, you're talking with AmeriCorps and other companies associated in that orbit of significant Medicare fraud. The Politico story mentions the current Democratic governor of Pennsylvania has having to answer questions if the media pursues it, as to why they gave a special treatment to this Biden-linked company up in Pennsylvania. I tell you, the scandal isn't just about the Biden family, as you point out. It's about how our institutions, the Justice Department, other government officials who obviously knew better, just let Joe Biden and his family trade on their family name for personal income. And to the degree Joe Biden was involved in government, that's a crime that he needs to be pursued for. And I want to know, when is Joe Biden going to be put under oath on these very issues, either by the Justice Department, which is supposed to be investigating these issues, or frankly by Congress?
And I want to know why he is allowing communist China to dominate America and run all over us, from COVID coming out of the Wuhan lab to the resulting cover-up of COVID, to the fentanyl coming in from China, to the intellectual property theft, to the thousands and thousands of Chinese nationals coming into the country. And this story, which is absolutely outrageous, that I've been talking about a lot this morning, Kelly Wong, okay, Chinese citizen. She's not an American citizen, but guess what? She can't legally vote in this country, but she was just sworn in to the San Francisco Elections Commission, Tom. Yeah. She is in this country on a student visa, and now she started as an intern at a UN agency for refugees, and she is now on the San Francisco Elections Commission. Even on top of that, more outrageous than even all of that, they did the ceremony in Chinese. She says, oh, I'm not so great in English. Let's do it in Chinese.
Yeah, well, the left wants to eliminate the legal distinctions between being a citizen and non-citizen. Here in Washington, D.C., they passed a provision to allow non-citizens to vote, either who are citizens who are here legally or illegally. So right now, the Russian ambassador, if he works it right, can vote for the D.C. council and mayor here in Washington, D.C. And I don't know what else you need to see when you see what's going on in San Francisco, local jurisdictions allowing non-citizens to vote in elections, and tens of millions of foreign nationals entering the United States, mostly illegal, before you might think there might be a plan afoot to change the outcome of elections and to transfer power through the mass immigration, both legal and otherwise.
Yep. You got it. Spot on. Tom, thank you. And thank you for your work, Tom. Great to have you this morning.
You're welcome.